Good morning, afternoon or evening, ladies and gentlemen, Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, on this smashing Saturday for what is going to be nothing short, as you guessed it, another jam-packed daily market update. We're not starting this one off with a joke like we did yesterday. I saw that joke was indeed appreciated. Crypto markets have retraced a lot of the pullback that they made largely on Thursday, or really following the back end of the Fed's speech, so Jerome Powell's speech, and we looked at why markets pulled back on the back end, I think, of the uncertainty, predominantly with the bond market on the back end of all of that, and the effects that has on the currency, etc., etc., etc. So we're not going to talk about that. We're going to be focusing very internally in the cryptocurrency space today. We will be flying through a number of charts. We've got some interesting news on Tether. So according to EU, exchanges must, within the EU, delist Tether USDT by December the 30th under MiCA non-compliance. This is interesting because we have a technical target that sees Tether go to about 1.3% of the overall market in terms of market cap. Today, it is currently sat at 4.2%. So something likely fundamentally is going to happen. Actually, the interesting thing with that is if Tether's market cap remains at 140 billion, if it does get to 1.3%, you can imagine the size of the overall space if Tether only represents at 140 billion. If its market cap doesn't grow, which it's been on a steady path of doing, if Tether's market cap, again, is 140 billion at 1.3% of the overall space, you've got a space that's worth $14 trillion. And I honestly think the altcoin sector can get there. Then we're going to be looking at a clip. This is from the Wolf of Wall Streets. Obviously, you've got Scott, the presenter, with Mark Yusko, a very prominent figure. And he's actually talking about the fact that Trump is buying the likes of Hedera, Bitcoin, XRP, etc. Now, this is the first time I've ever heard somebody say that. And the fact that it's Mark Yusko, I think, is quite interesting. And Scott makes comments about the sort of ETFs and things going on. Then we're going to talk about some donations that are taking place. So let's get into it all, guys. Just in, EU exchanges must delist USDT by December the 30th under MiCA non-compliance. Now, this is interesting because, of course, we have a technical target that sees Tether essentially go down to 1.3% in the form of an inverse head and shoulders. Some of you, or it's a right way up head and shoulders. We're so used to looking at inverse head and shoulders. You know, if we do invert the scale and invert it, this is quite a clear. I think Tether's very likely to go to sort of 1.3%. We'll put the scale back on normal. The interesting thing is if Tether's market cap is around about 139 billion, if this diminishes drastically, then if your market cap really does shrink, then this getting to 1.3% becomes less significant. But if its market cap stays at 139 billion and it only represents 1.3% of the space when it gets this target, you can imagine the entire cryptocurrency market cap is likely in the 14 trillion plus, which sounds crazy now, but I don't think it is. We did obviously have a pullback on the back end, or really as a week as a whole. I really don't think it's too much to worry about, in my opinion. The market still generally looks in good standings. What I want to do now is actually dive over to a very, very quick clip of Mark Yusko talking about what the President of the United States is essentially buying. Now, I'll share my comments on this after, but I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic and we're going to get into this.
What Trump is doing through this entity that he owns, he, and it's really his son, but because I don't think Donald really understands this stuff, is buying a bunch of crypto, Bitcoin and Hedera and XRP.
A bunch of things that might be approved for ETFs next year.
Shocking how that works.
I think that's the first clip that I've actually seen somebody with the kind of standing that Mark Yusko has actually saying that Trump, through his son, is buying Hedera. Now, I did a video the other day where I looked at what World Liberty Finance holds. Just off the top of my head, Ethereum's largest position, then Coinbase Bitcoin, which is wrapped Bitcoin on Ethereum. Then it was Chainlink. In fact, no, then it was Aave, then it was Chainlink, Then it was ENA and Ondo. So I didn't actually see through that vehicle that is associated with Trump. Hedera, however, Mark Yusko saying that. I mean, I wonder where that's from. And I think one of the comments that was interesting at the end from Scott there was, coincidentally, all the ones that are likely going to get an ETF. And we know that the likes of XRP and Sol are likely going to get an ETF. But actually, the man to follow when it comes to ETFs, senior analyst over at Bloomberg, is saying that you're likely going to get a Hedera and Litecoin one first. Hedera makes a lot of sense. We talk about it a lot on the channel. I know not everybody's into Hedera. Totally fine. And we think there's lots of other great things happening within the space. But it is, in my opinion, and why we cover it so zealously is because it's a very standout crypto. And it makes a lot of sense. Enterprise sort of focused distributed ledger, because they're the ones that can really benefit from this technology, is, it just ticks a lot of boxes, makes a lot of sense. It's an exceptionally performant DLT because of the hash graph consensus, et cetera, et cetera. It's really gossip consensus. A little bit of other news. Crypto companies are now boosting Trump's inaugural fund. Ripple has announced a significant donation of $5 million in XRP to the inaugural fund of President-elect Donald Trump. Some of you might be thinking actually Chris Larson gave, $100 million or something to Kamala Harris. Very interesting. Contributing to one of the largest single donations in the history of the US. President's, this move follows pledges from other companies like Kraken, Ondo, and Coinbase. Ondo keeps popping up everywhere, by the way, guys. Maybe we should do a video on Ondo. I know some of you are undoubtedly into it. Showcasing a notable involvement of crypto companies in political funding. Yeah, absolutely. And these are the sort of headlines on the back end of it all. The year that we're moving into is going to be an unbelievable one fundamentally for the entire cryptocurrency space. I mean, it truly is going to be an exhilarating year if you're into crypto. One of the last things for me to do, perhaps, is to just take a look at Bitcoin. It's kind of standing. There was a lot of panic over the pullback that we saw. A lot of people, it's the same thing, really. I think some people are new to the space, or some people just never get over the kind of emotional roller coaster that it is. But this is why ultimately we look at the charts in the manner that we do. On a weekly time frame, so a big time frame, a logarithmic chart, because it really quietens things down and we can still get the overall direction. You can see the difference here. Just looking at the, comparing the two, this chart is a lot more calmer and sort of easy to digest. But when you look at where we are and the pullback that we had, it's really nothing in the grand scheme of things. And you're going to have pullbacks along the way. The important thing is on a big time frame, sort of macro chart, if you will, what are you looking at? Are we in an uptrend? Yes. Do we have technical patterns that see us go even further to the upside? Yes. Have we got an amazing fundamental story for the cryptocurrency space? And actually, I don't think Bitcoin's particularly going to be the star of the show next year when it comes to the altcoin sector. I think it's going to be a big part of the show generally, but I don't think it's going to be the star. I think actually you're going to see like layer one smart contracts start to get implemented and potentially start working with governments within the United States. I think there's a lot of things that suggest that. It's going to be an unbelievable year, guys. Super stoked to be on this journey with each and every one of you. That is really it from me. Just a short and sweet one. Very interesting. It's the first time I've heard anybody say that Donald Trump is buying Hedera, or his son is, for an entity that he owns. I don't know where Mark Yusko has got that from, but Mark Yusko, very smart guy, very in the know. He's likely got this from a credible source. Interesting to find out what happens with Tether. Our target to Tether is interesting because it can ultimately predict what the whole space is going to be worth if you use its market cap currently. However, is it going to lose market cap due to these regulations? And is that a more explainable reason to why it gets to 1.3% rather than the space just out sort of grows it? We'll see. I think stablecoins are going to be a massive, massive part of crypto story. It's one of the largest use cases. I mean, stablecoins, and I don't think people realize this yet, are actually going to replace the money that you currently use today. Literally. And by money that we currently use today, the kind of system of it, more so than, nobody really uses cash anymore. I mean, you can struggle to even pay with cash in certain places in the UK now. But the Tether story is interesting. Mark Yusko's comment's very interesting. Seeing a lot of involvement in politics from the crypto sort of companies. I think what we've got is a very interesting year. And I think on the macro, because of the uncertainty around bonds, they've just upped the debt ceiling, by the way. The last time they upped the debt ceiling, or they've not upped the debt ceiling, it's likely it's going to be the last time they did that. The markets did really well because it ultimately means liquidity. So we've got this great story. That's it from me, guys. I'm going to love and leave you. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.